to my colored people, to all of my marginalized communities, hear what I have to say in this moment. You see, unconscious bias or conscious bias, racism, prejudice, and anything you want to add in between throughout all the different layers is a psychological warfare. It is one where if one doesn't have firsthand knowledge and understanding of a certain situation, feeling, and they only live by their own world, their own narrative, their own experiences, and maybe don't consider that their experience is not the standard. Their ability to connect, to communicate, and the mannerisms and the layers of how they communicate may not be of the same privilege, accessibility, or even ability than maybe someone else. You see, when we confront things like this and shine a light on things, on situations, on moments like these, people get uncomfortable. But it's the people who don't have that identity, who hasn't confronted that level of prejudice, of racism, and then they spot the light on us, whether it's Black History Month, Women's History Month, various marginalized communities and organizational months for different identities and understandings and different amazing human group couplets that we sprinkle out throughout the year, whether it's a day, a week, a month, and everything in between. They think that's enough time to deal with the conflict. That is enough time to have all the necessary conversations. That is enough time to put the spotlight on the various demographic, the various individuals, the various people in the struggle, dealing with it for a platform and a moment to speak their truth, to share their stories, to educate us on the if, when, why, how, where, and why. And then once the day, the week, the month is over, what happens? Actions aren't made. The narratives get quiet. The media switches gears, the PR, language, and ambitions and initiatives quiet down, but those with the struggles, those with the adversities are still where they are, with little to no help coming to support them. We send our prayers and things move on as usual. Connecting one human to another with vulnerability and authenticity is a key to human well-being. A modern approach to mentoring, one that creates a mentoring program that really matters, has never been more important, especially in the digital HQ. Augmenters, hosted by Julie Meyer and Jimmy Egerton, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. Entrepreneurs Julie and Jimmy, who care deeply about human well-being and bringing more connection to the workplace, dive into mentoring and exploring ways to augment and refresh the mentoring movement, using 8 core principles that weave relevant spirit guides and diverse guests. Julie and Jimmy use humor and practical tips to help mentors and mentees get further, faster together. You can listen to Augmenters wherever you get your podcasts. That's the part. That part right there. We have that awkward silence. Look what we have done. As far as talking about it and creating spaces to share about it, great. But where are the actions? Where are the change in policies? Where are the initiatives to hire better, to lead better, using the right language, using the right pronouns, using the right articulation to create the right atmosphere and ecosystem to develop the level of culture necessary to be more inclusive, to be fully and capable of being fully belonging across all spectrums, all walks of life, not only for a PR stunt, but to drive and activate and empower people of all walks of life to do their best work without feeling inferior or less than someone else. We are judged, we are led by our merit and our ability to perform on the job, to speak on the stage, to create, to build purely out of that, with no additional drama, weight, pain, or anguish caused because of one's color, because of one's identity, because of one's socioeconomic status, where they're from, what they've endured, as if that's punishment for them to not pursue higher learnings, higher positions, on stages, wherever the desire may be, the industry or the space.
What's up, digital world? You're listening to the I Digress audio experience with Troy Sandidge. Social media, marketing, storytelling, business, culture, and more. Coming to you in 3, 2, 1.
If this is the first time you're hearing my podcast, let me be clear. This is a black man, a black creator, a black business owner, a black COO, a black founder speaking. Now, I am all of those things. If you've Googled my name, my image comes up, and immediately, if you didn't know to this point I was black, you now know that I am black. Does that change the perception of the information that you're receiving, the insights that I'm giving, and the message tone that I'm delivering? Let's keep it 100. I can talk on this all day because this is my reality and my true 365 all day, every day, and twice on Sunday. Yes, we are not in the times of slavery anymore. But let's be clear, slavery was not too long ago. Let's be clear that though I am not in chains and I am not picking cotton and I have the right to vote and I can have the ability to pursue education and I can have certain things, live in certain areas to an extent, that does not absolve the pain and the struggle and the anguish that I, as a modern day black man in 2023, may endure certain nuances that lead to sprinkles of prejudice and racism and bigotry and unconscious and conscious bias. Things that were taught, whether literally taught or the unwritten rules that were taught, the stereotypes that were led that I have to endure because it wasn't educated, that it was disproven. You see, when a black man speaks his truth and may elevate his voice to be heard, in many cases, the immediate response is, oh, do not get too emotional. Oh, do not be too loud. Oh no, another angry black man. Oh no, another angry black woman. All because they spoke their truth and stood their ground. Not to be diminishing, not to be rude, but to speak their truth boldly and unapologetically as someone who could be in a place of leadership or in a situation where it must be said. Someone with high integrity, high morals, someone who may care so much about the business or the project or the campaign or their respective leader, whether they do it publicly or privately. A black man or woman raising their voice shouldn't immediately be seen as a threat and immediately shut down as if we're a child. But many of individuals across the spectrums, no matter the industry, whether corporate or agency or startup, or they have their own business, have dealt with that exact same scenario. And many of these organizations may have diversity, equity, and inclusive training, and yet these things still exist. What good is a policy if you don't enforce the policy? What good is stating what we're trying to do if you don't educate everyone of things that they may have been taught are not right, are not the right way to be a truly diverse, a truly inclusive, a truly fair organization and culture built on belongingness? As we obtain new information, we must update our memory banks. We must update how we function, our processes, and that is not just to make you money. It is literally to sustain your business for the longevity. As you increase in revenue, you also invest in the people that you hire to be sustainable. The secret to driving your business forward is finding the discipline to focus on the key priorities you need to tackle while getting the right support for the things others can do for you. You can get the support you need without breaking the bank through virtual gurus. They match you with skilled remote administrative talent, and you pay only for the hours you need through an affordable subscription plan with no long-term commitments, with no recruiting costs. You can build the support team you need while keeping your operation lean, saving up to 40% compared to traditional hiring costs. Virtual Gurus is on a mission to provide work opportunities to underrepresented communities in the United States and Canada, giving you access to an incredibly diverse talent pool. They can match you with remote assistants who have a range of skill sets, including bookkeeping, data entry, sales and marketing support, email and calendar management, and much, much more. Work with one assistant, work with several assistants. It all depends on what you need. Start getting the support you need today. Book a free consult at thevirtualgurus.com/I digress. That's thevirtualgurus.com/I digress. All one word. You see, people get uncomfortable in these conversations because it exposed the same thing we've been screaming about for as long as I can remember and as long as I've been on this earth. We still deal with racism. We still deal with prejudice. We still deal with all of these things that people of color and marginalized communities have expressed, have endured, and we all want change. And yet we find ourselves every Black History Month that now we want to talk about it, but there isn't enough action that is happening. I wanted to take the time on my own podcast and collect my thoughts as a creator accordingly to express myself, but also to speak on behalf of maybe others who maybe don't have the privilege or the confidence or the ability to speak on their behalf, to address, to articulate, to sow seeds, to give thought. The truth that is also my truth, but the truth of many, is that we still need more. We still need more support. We still need more allies, but ultimately we need real results. Not fabricated PR stunts that don't go anywhere. Not launching the announcement of an initiative that never gets off the ground, that no one else ever questions again, but was used in that moment in good taste to either acquire or save face, but you're not moving mountains as we need you to do. The number one thing you can do as an ally is not discredit our experiences. Not immediately say we're emotional, we're temperamental, we're weak, or we're difficult because we chose today to confide in you about an experience or a situation or a thing that maybe you don't see. Not that it's not there, it's because you don't have the additional weight or challenges or obstacles or, dare I say it, skin color to see it. But it's there. And we chose to confide in you and express, this is something I'm dealing with. I need help and support in maybe navigating this. Can you help me? And if as you, a leader, as you, a CEO, an executive, or as a confidant in this situation, if you're not fully equipped to give guidance or to be a medium to a resolve and a solution, I would choose my words wisely and not be so quick to discredit someone else's struggles. You find that in many cases, to get ahead, we have to compartmentalize the additional adversities and burdens it comes with being a Black XYZ. From a creator to an executive, to a leader, to a founder, and all the things in between. If you're rising up the corporate ranks, if you're rising up the agency ranks, if you're trying to build your clientele, if you're trying to make enough money to survive, to take care of your family and yours, and or just yourself, in many cases, in most cases, dare I say in all cases, every marginalized person within a specific community has gone through certain things where we had to put things aside and bear and suffer for the greater good of our longevity, our financial stability, or for the company in the interim or the long term, because it felt like it was the only choice that we had. Now, people who, for the lack of a better word, don't identify in those communities and never had that struggle and don't see the world in that way, this isn't meant to make you feel guilty about your privilege or your lack of struggles or lack of specific incidents within the same confines that we may endure at the same level, at the same job, even, dare I say it, at the same position. It's a fact that we know in more statistical cases, men will make more than women at the literal same job. Now, if we took gender out of it, and if that person can perform better, person B, than person A, it should be that person B gets paid more money. But the numbers tell us that is not the case. The numbers also tell us that it comes with marginalized communities compared to their counterparts. The same situation. The average, the median, more than not, we are paid less. but expected to do more. We jump through more hoops, go through more adversities to get to somewhere. That is not discrediting your own struggles, your own experiences for your pursuit. We're just expressing we had to take a longer route to get there. Now, what you do with this information as an ally is listen, is hear, not to speak, not to shut it down and rewrite with your own experience as the law and call it a day, but to listen, to understand, and be empathetic. Now, in our world today, we use the words empathy very lightly when we need to really give it more depth of what it really means. It's being comfortable with being in a space you probably don't subject yourself to or you're not in, whether by socioeconomic status or by actual literal understanding and experiences because of your skin color, because of your race, because of your privilege, because where you were born, because how much money you had, and all the different things that determines where you start. However, with that being said, it's the empathy to choose to understand, being very slow to speak, and giving people the full attention they deserve as they express themselves, as they share their truth. If you haven't set your 2023 goals, now's the perfect time. You know, one of my goals this year is to increase my productivity, performance, and profitability. And sure, finding ways to grow better personally can be easier said than done. As we all know, New Year's resolutions end after the month of January. But I digress. But finding ways to grow better in business is as easy as HubSpot. With HubSpot's CRM platform, better value and growing better go hand in hand. That's because HubSpot lets you try before you buy and has lightning fast onboarding times whether your business is going live tomorrow or went public yesterday. And with sales, marketing, and operations tools, your teams can stay connected and focused on reaching both your goals and your customers' goals. Learn how HubSpot can help your business grow better at HubSpot.com. I want you to understand and I want you to know and I want you to realize that there are some amazing humans out there in this world, gifted to do very big things, but aren't given the platform, don't have the resources, never receive the support, never given the empowerment to pursue or to do so. So many roadblocks, gateways, struggles, and obstacles and challenges that they didn't ask for are in their way. And that's in addition to the regular struggles that comes with life, the regular adversities that come with life. There's been many examples to prove to give the visual understanding of the impact of people of color in the business world compared to their counterparts. And in most cases, they use a very common analogy of a foot race. One very light, no weight added, one ankle weight, nothing else, then one with chains and weight and all this additional things added. And then on top of that, they may be pushed back further, only able to start much later, but yet is still expected to win the race by a mile. And even through all of that, the black people that many want to quote in books and invite on stages and empower them as reference for someone who air quote made it are few and far between. Those are the ones who, despite all of that, still made it through. The problem, and that's not to discredit those that have made it through, but the problem is that people weaponize that as a way, what that person that I named and that person that I named and that person that I named made it through. Why can't you? Without considering the 1 out of every 1,000 or out of every million circa of individuals who actually do achieve that. When the majority or a vast amount don't even get the chance, let alone the resources, the tools, the opportunities, and the empowerment to do so. I share all this to say in this particular episode, in this moment, in this season, when I think back to what transpired through George Floyd and various others that showcase once, time and time again, the civil and social injustice that may happen in various parts of the United States and therefore also the world. This is not a political statement. This is me sharing the context because this matters in business. Don't you dare think for a moment when we see things on the global stage presented to us that reminds us of how fragile our rights or resources are in a fragment of a moment that can be literally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically taxating on your people of color employees, your confidants, your clients, and your team. And if you don't have that ability, that awareness to acknowledge that and make room and accommodations for when those things occur, and can't create support and systems and infrastructure because you feel that's too much for the budget, that's not worth it to employ under culture, it's not worthy enough to fully invest and develop as I feel it may not impact our bottom line, that, listeners, is the problem. That, listeners, is what needs to be changed. That, my listeners, is what I'm here to express. There was a time I wouldn't express myself to this way. There was a time out of fear of losing a job, of losing opportunities, and so many other things, I couldn't be this fluid of articulation of my own experiences out loud publicly for many others to hear. It would be hush-hushed. You're making us feel uncomfortable. You're making the clients feel uncomfortable. You're making this and that leader feel uncomfortable. You shouldn't talk on these things. That may be your experience. That is not mine. That is not majority of our clients. And we don't want to convey that. We just want to do our jobs and be left alone. Well, I want to do my job too. But if things that are impacting my life are not acknowledged, therefore I can't be the best at my job or as a creator. We have to think beyond our own experiences and consider and see other experiences with their own eyes, even when at times we may not understand. Sometimes it's not meant for us to fully understand and comprehend. It's for us to listen. And eventually, over time, we will see the overlap. That's when you bring in people that can convey and be a mediator and translate and articulate in a way that we can have identifying commonalities to build off of, to build better policies and solutions, to have a better culture, and to demand and expect everyone to be better now that we have this new information. Is it easy? No, but nothing worth building is. We expect more and we demand more because more and more of the generations are being educated on the wrongdoing. And those who have the power need to hear and make adjustments and make changes accordingly. This is just my audio love letter to all of my listeners to express that we need to do more for our marginalized communities, our Black people, our Black workers, our Black friends and colleagues. The truth and the reality is we have to do more. We have to be better, and we can. But it's not enough to just say it. It's not enough to just do a post about it. It's not enough to create a policy announcement. We have to take action. We have to take steps. We have to listen, and we have to move. The days of being complacent, of being hesitant, of delaying things are over. We shouldn't have to wait until the next media firestorm of someone of marginalized identities passing away or fighting for their life on the national screen before conversations happen again. Before actions are being announced and initiatives being made. We need to just make that part of business and get things going. Just as much as we pursue sales, just as much as we pursue hiring and retention, you need to pursue and build the right level of culture. That impacts you just as much as anything else because sales all comes down to relationships. Employee retention and profitability and scalability all comes down to relationships. And trust and believe you will be in a situation where who you hire or who you interact with, your clients, your customers, your investors, will all be different diversities, entities, races, and from different socioeconomic statuses. So it's always into your best benefit to create a culture and uphold yourself to a higher standard of messaging, tone, and delivery that's acceptable, that's inclusive, that's impactful by all. Seen, heard, acknowledged, accepted by all. That's the way businesses are going. And I would encourage you to not be the last one out the gate. I would encourage you as a leader to take the time to educate yourself on different things, just as you would new technology, new investment portfolio. Learn the language, learn, uneducate to re-educate yourself on things and make things happen. I would also say that go back and listen to episode 46 of my podcast where I really break down a few things that started a lot of conversations, led to a lot of things. The reality is, the truth is, the honest truth, it starts with us. And it starts now. Action is the only way forward. So let's take action. Let's choose action. And let's be about action. There are not enough people talking about my subject matter to help me grow that look like me, that sound like me, and expresses it in a way that is true to me and my experiences. If you don't see the change you want to be in the world, as the quote says, become the change you want to see in the world. And here we are. Because here's the thing. A lot of black businesses, if I can keep it real, and I will keep it real on my show, that's hosted by a black man with a black voice, is that lots of times we don't have the access to the level of the understanding to begin to make the specific moves to give us the growth, scalability, sustainability, and success that we see from our non-black peers. So if that's the problem and that's the cycle, if someone played you a whole podcast episode and said, hey, if you listen to this 1 hour podcast episode, it's going to guarantee you get 10x your business, but it's in French and you don't know how to speak French, you can't understand French, it doesn't matter how many times you hear that episode, you can't get the understanding to modify your business to 10x your business. Am I making it very clear? In the same way, there are certain mannerisms and jargon and language that if you don't have the base foundation of what they're saying, you could be giving me the very recipe I need to 10x or even 100x my business. But if I don't have the basic understanding of the language, I can't apply what I'm hearing to my business. And I'm making that very clear. So if I'm a black business and I need to learn marketing and sales and strategy and all the things from a concept foundation level first and then scale up, and most of these podcasts in certain industries or fields are not addressing that particular pain point that I'm having, I can listen to all these episodes all day long from a very capable, amazing, powerful individuals, but if I can't fully understand it, it doesn't 100% benefit me. I'm only getting bits and pieces. And you can't build a skyscraper with bits and pieces of tools. You can't do that. I know I have a very young baby face, but I've been in this game for 10 years. And it is very hard and tiring and trying to be a trailblazer in an industry, in a space, on the stages, in the corporate offices, in the boardrooms, when you feel like you're the only one or one of few. Yes, there are plenty of us who are rising up the ranks, but there's so many more that haven't took the plunge or have even given the opportunity because of our skin and our race. And it's difficult, and it's challenging, and it's hard, and it's uncomfortable, but that's real. It does us no good as a people, as a society, as black businesses, as black creators, as black professionals, if the only time you want to talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion is during the 28 days of Black History Month. Can I be real? It helps us none, because there's 337 more days that is not talked about, but we are Black 365. Black businesses don't stop being black businesses the moment March 1st happens. And black businesses shouldn't be just the top of mind of everybody else starting January 31st so they can roll it all out the 28 days. Let me be real. It's not enough to reshare and like. It's not enough to bring black speakers, black entrepreneurs, black CEOs, all the titles, all the industries, all the different things, and make that the theme of the month. And then we don't hear or see any more diverse representation until the next internet holiday that calls for it. Black History Month is beyond just a theme of the month, a section of the year to talk about. These are lives. These are human beings. These are businesses, creators, all the things who all they want is acceptability and they want equal opportunity. That's it. There is no one denying that to make change happen, we must be made aware that the problem exists, that it hasn't gone anywhere, and that we still have more things to go.